This is the iPhone 13 mini. Here's why it's still by far the best compact phone you can get in 2023. The first thing you see when you take it out of the box is the design of the phone itself. This is the mini version, of course, so it's smaller than the rest. That makes sense. It has glass on the front and back of the phone, with an aluminum frame all around. It weighs 141 grams, which is pretty light compared to something like the iPhone 14 Pro Max that stands at 240 grams, which is a huge difference. Comes in 5 colors: Starlight, Midnight, Blue, Pink, Red, and Green. Wait, that's 6. Comes in 6 colors. And honestly, this phone looks great. It fits the pocket just right, and in my opinion, this is the perfect size for a phone. I'm not really a huge fan of big phones in general, so this just feels right. At 5.4 inches, just a few years ago, this phone wouldn't be considered as mini, but phones are getting bigger every year, and I just kind of miss the small, compact, one-handed phones. You can use this phone with one hand with no problem. It's great for single-handed use. When I put it in my pocket, I barely notice it's there. If you like smaller phones, this is just the thing for you. If you don't, well, there's always the regular 13 or the Pros and Maxes and stuff like that. Before we talk about specs, first, I have to mention the price. That's usually the first thing people take into consideration when buying a phone, right? So right now, you can get it brand new from Apple for $599 or $629 unlocked. And if that's too steep for you, there's always the Amazon renewed version that will knock that price down to around $500 at the moment. And for that price, you get a lot of phone with this one. Let's take a look at what the iPhone 13 mini can do day to day. Aside from the size difference, this still is a truly flagship phone. You get great stereo speakers, IP68 water and dust resistance, wireless charging, and basically every other feature that a bigger iPhone has. Same chip as the regular 13, great software support, everything. And when it comes to this display, it is, like I said, 5.4 inches, Super Retina XDR OLED display. It's HDR10, Dolby Vision, 800 nits of brightness, peaking at 1200, which is more than bright enough even in direct sunlight. It comes in a resolution of 1080 by 2340 and around 476 pixels per inch, which is actually a bigger pixel density than the regular iPhone 13 at around 460. Not a huge difference, of course, but this display is still tip-top. It is capped at 60 Hz, but so are all other iPhones except the 13 and 14 Pros. It is a really smooth 60 Hz though. It does have ceramic shield, which comes with improvements in drop and scratch resistance. Now when it comes to performance, it's rocking the A15 Bionic chip. That's in the rest of the 13 lineup, as well as the regular 14 and 14 Plus models, so you know it's still really fast. 4 gigs of RAM, which might sound like not that much, but iPhones don't really use a lot of RAM compared to Android phones, so these 4 gigs will do just fine. 128, 256 or 512 gigs of storage. Performance is amazing. It flies through apps. Honestly, you won't notice any difference day to day if you compare it to the 14 and 14 Pros. Apple's chips are just great and are integrated so well that these phones not only are fast in the beginning, but stay fast for a long time. And that A15 chip, as well as the 13 mini, is going to be supported for a really long time. You can expect at least another 4 to 5 years of software updates, if not more. So you really don't have to worry about that. On the Android side of things, it's basically impossible to get like 6 to 7 years of software updates. iPhones really have a long lifespan, so it's not an issue. On the battery side of things, it has a 2438 milliamp hour battery. I don't know why they do that. Just make it 2500. What's wrong with that? But yeah, those are the numbers. It has fast charging, which will get you around 50% in 30 minutes or so. 15-watt wireless charging via MagSafe. And that battery, even though it's not the best out there, it's still pretty solid. But like I said in each one of my videos, I'm really not a power user. I don't use my phone that much for like media consumption and stuff like that. But this battery is still pretty good. It gets me through the day with no issues. It gets around 7 hours of screen on time on average, depending on what you're doing. I've used it to record a lot of 4K videos so far, and it doesn't drain it that fast, honestly. And if you compare it to the previous generation, the 12 mini, it's a huge improvement in battery life. When the 12 mini came out, that was actually my biggest problem with it, that the battery really wasn't that great, but they really improved it with the 13 mini. If you are a true power user and you use your phone all day, every day, this might not be the best option for you, but if you are still looking for a compact phone and the battery is not the biggest decision maker for you, it's gonna do a great job. You might need to top it off at the end of the day every now and then, but most of the time it still does a great job and it's a solid battery overall. All right, now the big thing, the cameras. Dual camera setup on the back, 12 megapixel f1.6 wide lens and a 12 megapixel f2.4 ultra wide. It records video up to 4K 60, and of course all those things like HDR, Dolby Vision, and cinematic mode for video. It is capped at 1080p, but it's a nice feature to have. Overall, the camera is amazing. It shoots nice, sharp images with great colors and dynamic range. It's great in low light, especially the main wide lens, which has improved quite significantly compared to the previous generation. Portrait shots look great. Edge detection is getting better and better each year. The same thing with night mode. In video in low lit environments is also pretty good because it has a bigger sensor compared to the previous generations and it lets in a lot more light. It doesn't have that third telephoto lens that the Pro models have, but aside from that, it's a really nice camera system, and in some cases, at least in my opinion, it can get even better than the camera on the 14 Pro, because Apple is doing some software stuff with it that makes the images on the 14 Pro look a bit over sharpened and over processed. So the 13 lineup, including the 13 mini, can kind of have a more natural look to it. Now that's completely subjective, both cameras are great of course, but like I said, you're not missing out on camera performance with this one. If you're looking for a nice compact device with great cameras, amazing performance, longevity, software updates, and just an overall premium design and feel, 13 mini is definitely an amazing choice, and I'm gonna leave some affiliate links in the description if you wanna pick up the phone for yourself and help support the channel along the way. Video over.